Today is one of the rare instances whereby I will actually give a shit about the bus operator that's operating bus routes. Usually I don't. You would see me making fun of kids who are like super OCD about like,
If this bus operator operates this service, I think another bus operator should operate this service.
bottom line is, I don't care. But in this video, because it is literally a what if concept, I kinda have to care. The reason why I have to care is because both SBS and Trans Island, now SMRT, were territorial about boundaries, bus routes. That is the reason why, okay, just one example. Present day 965, it had to take like the most direct route into Sengkang. It is not allowed to wind inside Sengkang under SBS rules. And the same thing applies to 161 and 168. They have to take the most direct route to Woodlands. They cannot wind because it is Trans Island's territory, SMRT territory. So this video is about if SBS Transit never won the contract for Northeast Line, which means that SMRT Trans Island would be allowed to keep Buangkok, Sengkang, Punggol. So okay, I'm gonna use the boundaries for Sengkang GRC. I mean as a boundary, Buangkok Drive, like this. So SMRT would be controlling Buangkok, Sengkang, Jalan Kayu as well as Punggol. Why I say Punggol is because Trans Island Bus Services used to have 82 starting from Punggol. I mean it was originally an SBS, like 82 and 83, they were SBS services, but this one got absorbed into 147, which then terminated at Hougang, which never went to SMRT. Tips. Whatever, they're the fucking same thing anyway, who cares? And only this one made it to Tips. I mean, that's why I picked the 4 areas. Okay, fine, I'm just gonna say SMRT from now on. If you guys want to cry over the fact that I didn't mention Trans Island Bus Services, it's your problem. Also, one last thing. This depot would have belonged to SMRT. And then SBS, as usual, Hougang. Nothing changes. So, well, Punggol, Sengkang, Jalan Kayu, even though the terminal no longer exists, and Buangkok. Which kind of means 114, it wouldn't exist as a feeder, but yeah. And unlike other videos on YouTube that are like,
And based on my own predictions, I think that this service might have followed this route or that route, and here's my explanation to it.
and proceeds to spend like 10 minutes to explain one simple thing. I'm not gonna do that. I'm just gonna be straightforward, confident, just straight to the point. This is why I hate those fucking prediction videos sometimes, because you know the people making them are full of shit. Okay, let's start with the most interesting one. Successfully handed over. I mean, because NEL rationalization, well, that's SBS decision. Not LTAs, not PTCs, it was SBS decision. Obviously, if SMRT controlled these areas, well, they might still like do some form of rationalization, but like, let's say all these old routes still exist. Without referring to any wikis or anything, I'm just gonna tell you the route. And then present day New Punggol Road. Well, obviously, this section is gonna stay. Oh yes, I forgot to mention, Punggol Coast would have belonged to, I mean technically now LTA, it belongs to LTA, but like it would have belonged to SMRT. So yeah, this thing would have gone Punggol Coast. This thing is not going Punggol Coast, but like if SMRT were in charge of it, this thing would have been amended to Punggol Coast. In fact, this section probably would have stayed. The reason is because competition with this. So obviously, they are going to make 82 compete with 107. Whether SMRT is gonna make 82 like a little bit express or not, I don't know. But the fact of the matter is, it would have still been Punggol Coast to Shenton Way, like all the way. Because if you use Upper Serangoon Viaduct, you would miss out on NEX. But then this is like one of the options they have if SMRT wanted to make this into like a semi-express bus service or something along those lines. Even back in the day, there were like many semi-express routes that skipped like Marymount Road and stuff like that. Not skipped, but it plied Marymount Road. It just didn't call any stops. And as much as I want to talk about the possibility of this, unfortunately, no. Because 147 is already a thing. There is just no reason for a bus route from Punggol Coast to New Bridge Road to exist anymore. Because this one is the one that duplicates Northeast Line more. This one duplicates less. So this one has like more chance to stay. This one would be quite an interesting one. Present day service 80, it only happened because SBS Transit took control over both routes and then decided to merge them into one. So if SMRT still owns one of the routes, obviously they wouldn't have merged. And at most SBS Transit would have either kept this number or just like changed it to 80. I mean in the past, like 860 was changed to 865, so this kind of thing probably would have happened anyway. Okay, so this one was a BSCP thing. But if BSCP never existed, I don't think 119, which used to be 865, would have been extended to Punggol. I think SMRT, on their own accord, would have extended this one to Punggol instead. Because there is simply more potential. So yes, again, imagine present day 80 is only up till Hougang and not Sengkang, and I think this would have been the thing. However, I think this one would have been really different from the actual route. So okay, I'm going to show you the actual route. It is Marina Center and then to Bugis. So you can think of it as 133 a little bit. And then to Lavender, Kallang, Aljunied, and instead of like going to Geylang East Central, this thing would go to Paya Lebar. And it would copy service 80 all the way till Hougang Avenue 2. And then it would go to Hougang Avenue 10. And then after that, it would... And then Punggol Road, Compassvale Drive. And then obviously into Sengkang interchange. That is its original route. But if SMRT still operated this thing, I highly doubt they would actually want to send it to Paya Lebar. So instead, what they would have done is that they would have sent this thing because McPherson already has 62, so what other new areas that are there right now? There is Upper Aljunied, and then there is this thing called Bidadari Park Drive. I'm just gonna label it Serangoon Avenue 1 for now. Because I can bet you, like, there is a thing called competition, but there's also another thing called not letting your own routes completely duplicate the opposing PTO's bus route. So obviously, 62 goes by McPherson and Upper Paya Lebar, right? So they would have sent their own 864 up Upper Aljunied Road. Now obviously from here to here there is already like bus 100 SBS Transit. So to reduce the amount of unnecessary duplication, just go up. Here, here, and it's not like you're duplicating 158 either, because 158 goes via here and then to Circuit and Pipit. So it's not like you're duplicating anything. So from here, you're gonna go up, and then you're gonna go back to Upper Serangoon Road. So essentially, it is more or less the same thing. These would have been the new sectors. I'm just gonna put in Bidadari over here. And pretty much the other parts of the route, I think up till here they would have been kept. Actually, no. Since SMRT would have had their own 82 along Punggol Road, I don't think they would let it continue via Punggol Road. So let's go back to the map. So imagine this scenario. You have 80 by SBS. And then you already have 82, which again is the exact same thing. So obviously 864, they wouldn't have let it go along Punggol Road because simply there's already 82 here. So one possibility is just go up Buangkok for 864. Actually, I realized I have made a small error. So 80 would have been up till Hougang only because Sengkang is SMRT's territory. But Punggol Road, Compassville Drive, like this, it is still the most direct route. So I think SMRT would have allowed SBS Transit to send 80 to Sengkang as well. Whereas their own 864, they might have either here or here. I mean, you could like send it into Anchorvale, kind of like 110 a little bit. And then from there on, Sengkang East Road, go up. And then they would have let it just copy 119. So this was probably what 864 would have been. 865 to Harbourfront. I don't think this one they would have let it go all the way to Punggol. They would have extended 864 instead, because 864 originates from Marina Center, whereas this one is like a longer bus route. So I don't think they would have extended this one to Punggol. So what they would have done is simply within Sengkang, they're just gonna, like, let it just do this, no change. Now the problem with 865, like as a bus route, like the whole essence of it, is that it is a literal clone of Northeast Line, and not only that, it's kind of a duplication with 65. The difference is that, and the only difference is basically this. But to keep the essence of 865, you still have to touch Lucky Plaza. Otherwise, you're not going to get any demand from like this kind of route. So now the question is, how do you beat 65? Well, if you send this thing up Little India, it's going to duplicate. And it's going to be very slow. It's going to get trapped in traffic congestion. Like this thing and this thing would get trapped together. And that's not really that good, right? This is one of the rare cases whereby they would have actually made this service a little bit more express. And the reason why I even said this in the first place is because I'm not just plucking this thing out of thin air. Like, I'm telling you that 190 in the past, it was like, okay, Chua Chu Kang, Bukit Panjang, and then BKE, but it didn't go Stevens. It was like PIE exit via Jalan Anak Bukit. Okay, I drew it a little bit too big. Jalan Anak Bukit, Danyan Road, all the way till Stevens Road. And then obviously modern day it is like this. BKE, PIE, and Whitley Road. So it is not unrealistic to expect that if SMRT still had control over this route, they would have made it a little bit more express too. And by the way, I'm not making stuff up. Go and check the route history. I mean, it was like this thing being an integration with this. I forgot which generation it was. But yeah. So to resolve this thing, so 865, touch Lucky Plaza. And then you let it touch, what's the other? Opposite Somerset Station. I forgot what the bus stop name is. Opposite 313, I think. And then, what is that other bus stop? It's Concord Hotel. So you call this. I think it's like B14, B10, B06, and then you send it up CTE. And to keep the essence of this route, well, back in the day, nobody would expect St. Andrew's Slip Road to become that congested, but seeing as this is in the past, well, I think SMRT would probably have done it anyway to keep the essence of the route. PIE, then you exit. Okay, not really PIE, but like the slip road, if you get what I mean. Like Potong Pasir, and then just hook it up to modern day 119. And by doing this, you're preventing this thing from duplicating 65, getting trapped together in the congestion, which is not good because people will just take whichever one comes first. That's not really good when it comes to like competition. Now, this one. Well, historically, SBS used to have A59 from Bishan to Jalan Kayu. Then they handed over and handed back over and renumbered to 86. Well, there was a minute difference in the Sengkang sector. It was like, instead of like this, it was like this instead. So just a minor difference, but I think whatever happened to like 866 over the course of time would have... Okay, what am I saying? I mean like present day 86. This, if SMRT still had control over 866, it would have mirrored present day 86 anyway, regardless of whether it terminates at Ang Mo Kio or Bishan. I don't think this route would have changed anyway. Well, kind of the same thing applies to 87, because this one, out of 87, 88, 89, this one is the one that starts from Sengkang, unlike the rest. So this one, obviously, under Trans Island Bus Services numbering, SMRT's which would have carried over to SMRT, it wouldn't have been called 87. They might have called it like 867. So let me correct myself one last time. this one probably would have still been a Haokang bus service, but the present day service 80, I think SMRT would have allowed SBS to actually send one service into Sengkang. And then I talked about that before. Their 864, they would have probably sent it up Punggol instead. You know. So yeah. Again, this one, I've talked about it. This one, no change. So imagine everything just being under SMRT. Including this and this as well. There wouldn't really have been any changes to the route. Same for the feeder services. Okay, this one, when you're talking about any possible extensions to 374's route in future, you don't really have to care about the operator, but yeah, it's not really relevant to this video. And obviously 965 terminate, since it's their own terminal. And then this thing, it's kind of interesting. I don't feel comfortable talking about this because this thing actually used to be from let me just remove this distraction, I'm sorry. This was its original route. Okay, maybe not the earliest rendition of the route, earliest version of the route, but like the longest it has ever been is Jalan Kayu to Harbourfront. And this version of the route, well, it did not live to see Trans-Island bus services. So yeah, and realistically, I don't think it would still have gone to Harbourfront, seeing as like 865 exists, because from Harbourfront all the way till Novena MRT, it would have been completely swallowed up by 131. Unless you want to give me some questionable reason that, oh, SMRT wants to compete with 131, which doesn't even have like that much demand. I mean, like 131, it can get fully seated or like full to door sometimes, but it's not like it has like high capacity buses or anything. So again, the whole competition aspect of this wouldn't really apply in this case. But seeing as like Harbourfront to Novena, it's already covered by like 131. This thing would probably have stayed put. I don't know why did I say stay put? This thing would have been at Toa Payoh anyway. And the most I can see this thing going down is to St. Mike's. But again, there is already 130 from Upper Thomson to St. Mike's. So it's quite unrealistic to expect 163 to go to St. Mike's. So with that being said, there would have been no changes to 163's route. And under SMRT, hypothetically, I don't think this thing would have extended to Punggol, seeing as the one that actually has potential to extend to Punggol is 864, not 163. The reason why I mentioned 864 is that 864 goes like Marina Center and Bugis. That is a place that you're supposed to target, and not really 163. I mean the areas that 163 passes by. Not to mention that present day there's already an alternative to Punggol 50. I know it winds, but like there is a bus to Punggol East. So yeah, this thing would have stayed put at Sengkang anyway. You could argue that they might have applied the tips numbering instead of using 3738, but yeah, I'm not going to talk about that. I can't even fit like the entire Punggol into one PowerPoint slide. That's how badly they have deforested this fucking area. Okay, Pongo is interesting because, okay, I'm just going to like rule out those like very duh ones. And by the way, this one, the present day 83 is not the same as the old 83 from Pongo to New Bridge Road. That one has already integrated with like 147, so this one is a new 83. And then this thing, there wouldn't be like any major changes to like these routes, I would say. Like even this one. And then obviously, but seeing as every single 10X service started off as SBS at Serangoon Garden, not Serangoon Interchange but Serangoon Garden, even 106 used to originate, and 107 as well, they used to originate at Serangoon Garden before they all shifted to Serangoon. I mean, including 217, which later became 317, whatever, but yeah. When they are renumbering 43M to 104, well, I think they would have stuck with like the tips numbering again. Because it kind of fits the profile. It's like you have 866 from like Sengkang to Ang Mo Kio or like Bishan at some point. But like this kind of fits the profile as well. Like imagine Bidadari to Punggol Coast, and then instead of calling it 104, they might call it something else. But yeah. But the route is not gonna change. Like the route will still be like Bidadari Park Drive, Serangoon Avenue 1, next Yio Chu Kang Road, Buangkok Drive, Buangkok MRT, copy 43, and then copy 673, and then one direction goes inside, the other direction goes outside, and then they wrap around New Punggol Road into Punggol Coast bus interchange. Punggol Coast ITH, whatever the fuck you call it. Oh my god. It's still going to be the same route. I don't think it's gonna change or anything. It's just the numbering. SMRT would have preferred something else. So yeah. The interesting ones are 3 and 62. But I'm gonna talk about that later. I'm going to oops. Ooh, no. Okay. I'm going to go back to okay, the second part of it. Okay, go down. And I'm going to evaluate this set of bus services as well. So obviously nothing much is gonna change. Okay, this one might be an exception. This one I don't even have to talk about it because this is literally just 865. And then this one, okay, it's not going to change as well. And then you have our dear Pongo Coast services as well. Like this one, which replaced what was going to be introduced but got rejected at the last minute because they decided to extend 117 to Pongo Coast instead. But yeah, this one would have been a dual SMRT service. It's like Sembawang to Pongo Coast. Both of them would have been SMRT. So yeah. Well, the route wouldn't change, but you would have had a trio. Although, to be honest, I gotta caution you. They're gonna have to be a little bit careful about 34. Because Tampines, remember the old 34 was actually a semi-express version from Bedok to Changi Airport. Before Changi Airport line, East-West line, branch line was a thing. The newer generation of 34, it only got introduced later. So this one is the one that would have been interesting, and I'm going to explain why. Okay, let's go back to our map. Okay. Like this. Okay. Whatever, I'm just gonna screenshot from here. Reason why I want to talk about this is because the territory rules might have applied. So if they wanted a 34, SBS, they might have disallowed SMRT from Going Avenue 2 and Avenue 7. They might have only allowed SMRT to operate 34 from, okay, like Tampines Avenue 10, 5. Obviously 34E is not going to be affected because it just applies TPE. So Tampines Avenue 5 is the most direct route to PIE. So I think this part of 34 might not have existed if this thing actually was introduced by SMRT instead. And speaking of 34, 27, when SBS, okay, it's like historically it was Tampines to Changi Airport. It was via Avenue 5, Central 2, and 1 instead of like going here. So it was like Tampines first, and then it got extended to Pasir Ris via like this. I know the road configuration has changed. Tampines, Pasir Ris, Tampines, Sengkang. I don't know, I just brain froze a little bit just now. Hougang. This one is still fine, but one of my friends, Kenny, he brought up the fact that SBS might not have wanted to extend 27 to Sengkang. And then Pasir Ris, since there is already 15, because 27 used to duplicate 15 from this point onwards up to Pasir Ris, right? So yeah, it was 15. Yeah, correct. Street 53. So not Pasir Ris. Kenny said that 27 would have been extended to Tampines North instead, because Pasir Ris already has 15, right? So the only other place that they could extend it to is Tampines North. So yeah, 27 might have been a short route if SMRT had territorial control over like Sengkang, Buangkok, Punggol, Jalan Kayu. So I talked about 34 just now, so this thing just came to my mind. But anyway, this video, the whole idea of this, it's credit goes to Kenny. I wasn't the one who came up with this video idea. So thank you for suggesting this. I finally have content. Jesus. Okay, you get my point. This section of 34 might not have existed. But yeah, you know, SMRT could have had like the trio of services. Yeah, these three. Okay, so I've narrowed it down to the routes that might have changed. So there is, because I talked about 27, right? There is 362 and what's it called? 136. So again, historically, this thing is Hougang South to New Bridge Road. Seeing as SBS would not have controlled Northeast Line, this route might have stayed as it is. Okay, maybe extend to Hougang. That's all. So this thing wouldn't have gone to Punggol. This thing, I'm talking about like the current generation of 136 and not the previous generations. Wait, is there even a previous generation of 136? I know 156 has a previous generation. 136 I completely forgot, but yeah. It would have been just Ang Mo Kio to Hougang. And then this thing, it would have been just Tampines to Pasir Ris instead of going to Punggol. Now it's kind of the tricky part because, oh my god. Again, Kenny was the one who pointed that out about the 62 thing. But there is one problem, and the problem is that in between Hougang Avenue 10 and Hougang Avenue 8, okay, that part of Upper Serangoon Road that got cut off, this entire stretch of road they would lack buses in general. Like there is 62 along this corridor, and then along this corridor there's like, wait, shit. Okay, like this, and then up to 8 Edgefield, 136, 62, and then there is a 39. Oh my god, 39. So I think SMRT would still have allowed 39 to cut right through Punggol and then exit. Like, I think the present day service 39 SMRT would have allowed it, so that's out of the question. And then there is also this kind of thing, tree. So essentially what I'm trying to say is that SMRT might have needed, okay, not really need, but like the residents might have pressured SMRT to introduce routes that resemble the present day versions of 136, 62, that goes like this. Oops, sorry. That goes like this. And service 3. So you got one to the east, and then you have two. I don't even know where to send them, honestly. But the main point is that like you can get creative with whatever routes you have, but like if SMRT still had control over Sengkang and Punggol, Buangkok, Jalan Kayu, these would have been the areas that are lacking because of historical reasons. Actually, that also depends on like when they handed over. 136. Oh shit! I completely forgot when 136 actually extended to Punggol. I think during the Tips era, it still looped along here. Okay. So I think it's valid. So these 3 routes and their respective sectors that I've drawn in like black. I'm sorry, it's not that clear, but yeah. These are the sectors that you would have to, that SMRT would have had to compensate with their own routes. And I think this one, service 3, is gonna be the most tricky out of all of them. Because when you look at service 3 in general, if I play the territory thing, part of its route would be under SMRT territory, including the TP bus stop, and then this would have been the neutral zone, and then whatever remains of like this route that goes into, oh my god, what am I doing? Stupid. Okay, let me make it smaller. Okay, I'm drawing the historical version of it. I know now it's like this, but yeah, I'm drawing the historical version of it. Oh my god, my camera is not behaving the way I want it to behave. Okay, like this, and then like this, like this. Yeah, my stupid camera. Ah, god damn. Would you just work for once? So you can see the dilemma now for service 3. You got one windy sector over here. Like, okay, the SBS side, obviously it's allowed to wind. Then you would have this sector which is like, I don't know how the fuck you're gonna like solve it. Honestly. The only way to resolve this is that both PTOs, they really need to compromise. Because Punggol Central, Punggol East, okay, like Punggol East, Punggol Field, they need a bus stop connection to TP bus stop. And for connectivity's sake, not for competition's sake, I think PTC, Public Transport Council, which is the one that manages the bus routes back then, because SBS and SMRT, they would send in proposals to either extend or truncate bus services. I think service tree is going to be one of the special cases whereby they need to reach a mutual agreement between both PTOs as to whether to allow this kind of winding. I know it's not like really a big winding sector or anything, but like to reach a mutual agreement that like, hey, the commuters are more important. You have to stop thinking about competition. Please put your differences aside, that kind of thing, you know. Yeah, so I think service tree would have been one of the rare cases whereby, yeah, this would happen. Okay, well, technically, for 62, 62 goes along like this. Well, it is kind of the most direct route inside, the most direct route to reach Punggol Interchange via Sengkang East Drive. So again, I think 62 SMRT would have allowed it. I mean, like 62, if you extend it to Punggol, I think SMRT would have said yes to this. 136 is kind of, you know. So up till like Upper Serangoon Road, you might have 136 might have to like, sorry, like there would have been 136 would have been split into two routes. One from Ang Mo Kio to Hougang, and then the other one under SMRT would be Punggol to like Upper Serangoon Road area, and then SMRT could choose to like loop at whatever place. Actually, I just thought of it. Like 136 under SBS, Ang Mo Kio to Hougang, right? There is one idea. So SMRT could have introduced a new route which goes from which copies the present day 136's route up till like basically Punggol to Upper Serangoon Road, right? And then from there on, they send it to the new HDB estate that's coming once the airbase moves out. So yeah, that is one potential. So in the meantime, you could probably like loop it at, I don't know, this place, maybe. Yeah, I think that's a good solution. So I think we resolved everything. Service tree PTC has to step in because connectivity is way more important than the PTO's egos and their earnings. And then this one, SMRT would have compromised and allowed it. This thing, it would have been Ang Mo Kio to Hougang, and then the other one would have been Punggol to PLAB. So I think we've like settled everything. Thank you, Kenny, for the video idea. Kasanida. Bye bye.